They told the world Venus was Earth's twin, a sister planet, born from the same cosmic dust, orbiting the same star. It was a tantalizing idea, a mirror image of our own world just one step closer to the sun. Similar in size, similar in mass, maybe even, they hoped, similar in destiny. For decades, science fiction and even some scientific speculation painted it as a world of steamy jungles, vast oceans, and perhaps primitive life. But when the Soviets, driven by the relentless ambition of the Cold War, finally pierced its veil of clouds, that romantic illusion didn't just die. It was violently obliterated. What they found wasn't a paradise gone wrong. It was a nightmare. A planet so fundamentally hostile, so ingeniously violent, that scientists today still struggle to explain how anything we sent there survived at all, even for a moment. The data that trickled back across millions of kilometers of empty space was so extreme, so far beyond the worst-case predictions, that it felt like a violation of the natural order. And the most terrifying part? The numbers and images they brought back forced humanity to question not just the fate of a distant planet, but the fragility of Earth's own future. In the 1960s, the Cold War wasn't just fought with spies and propaganda. It was fought in the heavens. While the United States set its sights on the moon, the USSR looked to Venus. It became their prize, a symbol of technological and ideological supremacy. The choice was strategic. Venus was closer than Mars, a tantalizingly near neighbor. It was bigger than Mercury, a world of substance. But its greatest allure was its mystery. It was completely hidden beneath a thick, unbroken blanket of pale yellow clouds that stubbornly refused to reveal what lay below. Telescopes showed nothing but a featureless orb. Early radar offered only the faintest, most ambiguous hints of a solid surface. No one truly knew what waited there. In the absence of data, imagination ran wild. Many leading scientists believed Venus was a primordial swamp world, hot, humid, and perpetually overcast, yes, but possibly teeming with life. A younger Earth, frozen in a prehistoric era. The Soviets, however, decided not to guess. They decided to go. What happened next would become one of the most brutal and humbling chapters in the history of space exploration. The first attempts were catastrophic failures. Soviet probes were crushed, melted, ripped apart, and silenced one by one, long before they even reached the surface. Signals vanished mid-transmission, cutting out abruptly as the probes descended through the atmosphere. Metal structures, designed to withstand the vacuum of space, collapsed like paper under a force they were never built for. Delicate instruments, the very reason for the mission, failed within seconds of exposure. Venus wasn't just hostile, it was actively, methodically destroying everything we sent. And yet, the Soviets kept going. Their persistence was born of a grim realization. Every failed mission, every silent probe, revealed something worse than the last. The planet was more violent than they had imagined, so they built stronger probes. Then, finally, after years of failure and sacrifice, Venera 7, a machine built like a deep-sea submersible, succeeded. It survived the descent. When the first Soviet lander touched down on Venus and transmitted a faint whisper of data back to Earth, scientists froze. The signal was weak, barely a flicker, but it was enough. It carried the first report from the surface of another world. The numbers were nonsensical. The surface temperature wasn't just hot, it was over 460 degrees Celsius, hot enough to melt lead, zinc, and tin. The atmospheric pressure was more than 90 times that of Earth, a crushing weight equivalent to being buried under nearly a kilometer of ocean. The air itself wasn't breathable. It was a toxic soup of 96% carbon dioxide, laced with thick, choking clouds of sulfuric acid that rained down from the sky. Venus wasn't a planet. It was a pressure cooker from hell. But the horror didn't stop with the environment. It was what the probes saw in their final moments. The images that came back were grainy, distorted, and agonizingly brief, but they were unforgettable. They revealed a flat, fractured wasteland of sharp, volcanic rocks. No oceans, no jungles, no sign of life, past or present. Just endless, scorched stone under a yellow-orange sky that never, ever cleared. The strangeness was absolute. On the surface, there was barely a breeze, yet the upper atmosphere moved at over 300 kilometers per hour, circling the entire planet in just 4 Earth days. The planet itself rotated backwards, so slowly that a single Venusian day lasts longer than its year. The sun rose in the west. Everything about Venus was profoundly, fundamentally wrong. Then, as analysts pored over the handful of precious images, they noticed something deeply disturbing. Some pictures showed shapes that didn't behave the way rocks should. Objects appeared in one frame, seemed to shift or change shape in the next, and then vanished entirely. Soviet engineers initially dismissed it as camera noise or mechanical distortion from the lens cap deployment, but the anomalies persisted across different missions. The truth was far stranger. The surface of Venus was so extreme that the laws of physics as we know them began to warp. Solid rock itself behaved differently. Metals softened and sagged. Shadows warped in the dense, superheated air. Time itself seemed compressed because every single second the probe survived was a miracle of engineering. The longest-lasting Soviet lander, Venera 13, survived for just 127 minutes, just over 2 hours. That was all the time Venus allowed before it claimed another victim. But in those final, fleeting minutes, the probe transmitted something far more terrifying than the heat or the pressure. It wasn't an image, it was a chemical signature. It sent back proof that Venus was once very different. The soil samples and atmospheric readings showed telltale chemical markers. Isotope ratios, particularly of deuterium to hydrogen, were wildly off. They were the unmistakable fingerprints of massive water loss, suggesting the presence of ancient oceans that had boiled away billions of years ago. Venus hadn't always been a hellscape, it had become one, and that single, chilling realization shook the scientific community to its very core. Venus and Earth were born side by side, same cosmic neighborhood, same raw materials. For 1 billion years or more, they may have been twins in truth, both temperate worlds with liquid water and the potential for life. Yet one became a cradle, and the other became a furnace capable of destroying our most advanced spacecraft in minutes. The difference? A runaway greenhouse effect. A planetary fever that spiraled out of control. As Venus heated up, its oceans began to evaporate. That water vapor, a powerful greenhouse gas, trapped more heat, causing more evaporation. This vicious cycle released vast stores of carbon dioxide from the rocks into the atmosphere, trapping even more heat, until the planet crossed a critical tipping point, a point of no return. Once it started, it never stopped. The planet cooked itself to death. The Soviets didn't just discover what Venus is, they discovered what can happen to a planet when its climate balance is broken. And suddenly, Venus wasn't just a target of exploration. It was a warning, a ghost of Christmas future, sent back to us from across the solar system. NASA scientists quietly acknowledged it years later, a conclusion that has only grown more urgent with time. Venus is Earth's worst-case scenario. It is a glimpse into a future where climate change spirals beyond our control, a future where recovery is impossible, where the planet itself becomes fundamentally hostile to the life it once nurtured. But here's the most chilling part of the entire story. Despite everything, despite the crushing pressure, the molten temperatures, the acidic skies, the Soviets proved that machines, our machines, could reach Venus, could land, could transmit, could see. For a brief, defiant moment, humanity touched a world that did not want us there, and Venus fought back. Every mission after the first successes was designed like a sacrifice. Engineers knew the probes would die. They accepted it. They built them anyway, each one a calculated loss. Thicker shells, more robust cooling systems, shorter, more focused missions, faster data transmission. The exploration of Venus became a desperate race against time. Not to survive, but to steal a few precious seconds of knowledge before the inevitable destruction. Today, No human has ever walked on Venus. No rover roams its surface, and for good reason. It remains the most extreme environment humans have ever reached and survived even for a moment. The Soviets didn't find aliens. They didn't find ancient cities. They didn't find any trace of life. In the end, they found something far more terrifying. They found proof that a planet can turn against itself, that a paradise can become a tomb. And if it happened there, it can happen here. Venus stands silent now, wrapped in its toxic shroud, spinning backward under a sky that never clears. A planet we once hoped would welcome us as a second Earth. Instead, it delivered a message written in heat, pressure, and death. You are not special. You are not safe. And planets do not forgive mistakes.